there's nothing movie audiences love more, at least when it's done properly, than a good gotcha moment. We love being fooled by the magic of modern movie making or a solid Scooby-Doo twist. And the most tried and true method of drawing gasps from the audience is the dishonourable but oh so investing fake out death. In a climactic scene, we see a character apparently meet their maker, everyone cries or cheers depending on which side of the good and evil spectrum you fall on, and the movie proceeds. But wait, is that? It can't be. It is! They're alive after all, perfectly timing their return for that all-important dramatic effect. The ultimate twist has been pulled and now none of us know what's real anymore, and it's all very emotional. Yes, sometimes these near deaths are tacky and borderline insulting, let's be real, but when they're utilised in the right way, they can deliver a solid gut punch that will have you doubled over like nothing else in cinema, or something like that anyway. So prepare the edge of your seat for what's up next, as I'm Ash from What Culture, and these are the 10 greatest fake-out deaths in movie history. 10. Mustapha is still alive but very badly burned. Austin Powers. Let's start out with a bit of light-hearted fun. One of Dr. Evil's henchmen, Mustapha, played by a then unknown Will Ferrell, is cast into a fiery pit by his boss because the cryogenic chamber he designed caused Dr. Evil's cat to lose its fur in the unfreezing process. A not unreasonable punishment. It's a classic Bond villain move, casually pressing a button that opens up a spot on the floor and sends Mustapha falling into the flames below. And then, like nothing happened, Dr. Evil continues on with the conversation. But the initial death rattles continue to interrupt his speech, causing Dr. Evil to call another henchman to go kill him for real this time. We hear Ferrell continue to bemoan his injuries before a gunshot silences him, for about 2 seconds at least, until he exclaims, "You shot me! You shot me right in the arm!" Then a second gunshot is fired, this time appearing to silence him for good. Until the sequel anyways. It's a hilarious send-up of the fact that no one in the Bond universe ever really seemed to die. 9. There were actually 2 killers the whole time. Scream. The Scream franchise proved, above all else, that Wes Craven was highly aware of how silly and patterned the horror genre had become since the debut of his first Nightmare on Elm Street film. Scream looked to tear away all the BS of the genre and analyse it from within, while still terrifying audiences. After a night that would rank at least in the top 3 of her worst nights ever, Sidney Prescott stands looking at the carnage that has befallen her small town. Several friends have been brutally murdered by a mask-wielding psychopath with an obvious vendetta against hot, charismatic teenagers. And worst of all, she just watched her boyfriend Billy die in front of her very eyes. Or did he? No, dear audience. No, he did not. As it turns out, not only was her boyfriend not dead, but he was also one of the 2 mass murderers terrorising her and her friends, all because of a convoluted backstory involving Sidney's mom and his dad getting all adulterous and sexy together. That blood covering his stomach from the many stab wounds she'd watched puncture him minutes earlier? Corn syrup. The same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie. He and his other friend explain the whole setup to Sidney, because of course they do, which gives her enough opportunities to kill them both. Which in turn gives us the opportunity for a bonus fake-out death, with Billy jolting back to life only to be shot in the head and killed once and for all. Or was he? Yes, dear audience, yes he definitely was. 8. Satan can play dead with the best of them. Devil. By the time the M. Night Shyamalan penned Devil was released in 2010, audiences were more than over the Sixth Sense guy's penchant for twist endings. But since Devil is really nothing more than a whodunit disguised as a horror movie, since an evil spirit is killing the strangers trapped in an elevator together one by one whenever the lights flicker off, there was only so many directions you could go with it. As the numbers started to thin out, everyone starts to point the finger at each other. Because surely evil spirits aren't real. But when there's only one guy left alive in the elevator, the whodunit is obviously over, because there's only, oh, wait, the old lady's corpse has been reanimated and she's absolutely the devil who has grotesquely killed them all. This may have simply been a case of Shyamalan writing himself into a corner and relying on the classic old lady with a slashed throat comes back from the dead trope, you know, that old chestnut. But the sight of that elderly woman rising up, ready to slaughter again as Satan incarnate, is bone-chilling, and worth the suspension of disbelief you have to maintain throughout the rest of the movie. 7. He'll be back. T2. Judgment Day. Does it count if the thing that fake dies isn't actually a human? For the sake of this video, let's go with yes. During the climactic battle of new technology versus old technology, Arnold's T-800 is outmatched by his mimetic polyalloy counterpart and ends up simultaneously impaled and electrocuted. Ooh, not nice. Though, to be fair, we're not explicitly told before this moment that this combination is deadly to a Terminator. But come on, that's a recipe for death, no matter what the hell you're made of. Besides, did you see the way his hand unclenches once it happens? That is how you judge a robot death. Now it seems it's entirely up to our human heroes to save the world, or at least not get similarly impaled by his liquid metal stabby fists. But then the camera pans to his blinking red eyeball, a sure sign that his power source is still on and that he is not really dead. He's back, just like he said he'd be all those times. 6. Hans wasn't the last bad guy to die. Die Hard. Remember that scene in Die Hard where, wait, what am I doing? Of course you do, because you remember every scene in Die Hard because it's Die Hard and you're not a terrible human being. Anyway, let's all take a moment to reflect on the scene where Bruce Willis fights the baddest henchman on Hans Gruber's team, Carl. It's a vicious slugfest that ends with John McClane wrapping a metal chain around Carl's neck and hanging him. The camera pauses on Carl's supposedly lifeless body just long enough for the audience to cheer the protagonist's cunning. And then, of course, McClane takes care of the big dog himself, dropping Hans from the top of Nakatomi Plaza to his certain death. He goes outside the building to celebrate being the hero of the day, only for Carl to come stumbling out of the building with a gun aimed directly at him. But don't worry. The cop who John had been radioing from inside the building, you remember, the one who accidentally shot an innocent kid and hadn't fired his gun since, suddenly gets over his career-altering trauma in time to shoot the son of a bitch dead. Yes, it's cheesy now, mostly because it's been done to death. But at the same time, it was a great bit of what the hellery that let the dad from Family Matters save the day. 5. Harry's alive! And a horrible shot. Dumb and Dumber. There were plenty of reasons for audiences to believe Harry actually died. For starters, Dumb and Dumber is a much darker comedy than most people like to remember. Also, Harry and Lloyd had already killed someone earlier in the movie, even if it was just supposed to be a goof. It also had a surprising number of heartfelt moments that cut through the boneheadedness of it all. Like when Lloyd breaks down in their ramshackle apartment, confessing through tears, "I'm sick and tired of being a nobody. I'm sick and tired of having nobody." Ooh, gets you in the feels. So who are we to disregard the possibility that, rather than watch his pal be executed by their captor, Harry might sacrifice himself to save his friend? Harry is shot multiple times as Lloyd looks on in horror, delivering his line without a hint of comedic undertone. It's a pretty harrowing moment, actually. Of course, all is right with the world when Harry pops up a few moments later, wildly shooting a pistol at their captor and broadly missing, prompting the iconic line, "Harry, you're alive! And you're a horrible shot." 4. Who's the dead guy? Saw. Oh, stop it. I can practically hear your groans coming through the screen. But before you get all up in arms, try to put yourself back in time by about a decade and strip away the overabundance of unnecessary sequels. Just think about the first time you watched Saw and remember how you came this close to needing a change of pants when the ending was revealed. The setup is wonderful in its simplicity. 2 guys, Adam and Lawrence, are chained up in a dilapidated bathroom and must play a sick game constructed by a mass murderer / puzzle enthusiast to survive. Adam must escape the bathroom before 6 o'clock or he'll die. Lawrence must kill Adam before 6 o'clock or his wife and daughter will die. In the room with them are 2 hacksaws, a revolver, a tape recorder, and a dead body. All are essential to the story. As the film enters its tense final act, Lawrence saws off his own foot and shoots Adam with the revolver, wounding but not killing him, hoping to find a loophole in the rules. It works, and the door opens to allow Lawrence the chance to escape and find help. But after he leaves, Adam watches the body in the centre of the room rise to its feet. Why, he wasn't dead at all. It was the very alive, very sadistic Jigsaw Killer. 3. Robot Sacrifice. The Iron Giant. This fake-out is one of the most emotionally devastating on the list, in no small part because The Iron Giant, at its core, is about a relationship between a boy and his robot that's as pure as the first snowfall of winter. The entire movie is just a series of misunderstandings between the military and the giant robot who fell from outer space and crashed into a small town in Maine. Though he proves himself harmless to the little boy who finds him and that little boy's family, the military will have none of it. Due to some real misguided intelligence, the military ends up launching a missile that will not only destroy the robot, but also wipe out the entire town. The giant sacrifices himself for the boy and his family, flying off into space to take the missile head on. The town is saved, but the boy's heart is shattered, as are all of ours. But days later, the boy, who'd been holding on to a small piece of the robot that fell back to Earth after his sacrifice, notices the part begins to shake. Earlier in the film, the robot had shown his ability to self-repair, a process that involved him telekinetically bringing his stray parts back together. Oh, thank God! 2. Libyan terrorists are no match for Doc Brown and time. Back to the Future. The killing of Doc Brown by Libyan terrorists is one of the greatest fake-outs ever, if only because it stretches across the entire movie and 30 years technically. Because there are a lot of moving parts to this, let's keep it simple. At the start of Back to the Future, Doc Brown has actually figured out time travel. Right before he's about to send Marty McFly back to 1955 using the time-travelling DeLorean, pissed off Libyans who Doc had double-crossed to get some plutonium, show up and gun Doc down. Well, back in 1955, Marty finds Doc and explains that he's successfully invented time travel. He also gives him a note which details the date and time that Doc will be killed by the Libyans, but Doc tears it up, unread, so as not to risk altering the future. When Marty later arrives back in 1985, he does so just in time to see Doc getting shot by the terrorists again. He kneels down to weep at his side, heartbroken that he couldn't stop this from happening. Suddenly, Doc sits up and reveals a bulletproof vest underneath his radiation suit. Then he pulls out the note Marty gave him, which Doc had taped back together. When Marty asks why he chose to read the note and risk altering the events of the future, Doc responds simply, "Well, I figured what the hell." 1. Gandalf falls to his non-death. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. "You shall not pass!" is one of the greatest rallying cries in movie history, but one that unfortunately preludes the untimely death of Gandalf the Grey. When taking the dark, secret way through the mines of Moria to help Frodo and his merry gang of adventurers expedite their quest to destroy the Wicked Ring, they encounter nearly every form of evil. Orcs, a mountain troll, and a terrifying Balrog. In an effort to stop the Balrog and let the others escape, Gandalf puts himself directly in harm's way. And pays the price. The sight of him falling off that bridge and into the void is undoubtedly one of the saddest moments of the trilogy. What makes it both more cruel and more awesome is the fact that we have to wait until the next installment to witness his glorious return. Thanks to a physical healing, courtesy of the Lady of Light Galadriel, he would come back better than ever. Bathed in a glow of bright light, Gandalf presents himself to the group, reborn as Gandalf the White. And all is right with the world once more. And that's our list. What other non-deaths belong on this list? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash and this has been What Culture. Make sure to subscribe to the What Culture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. Thanks for watching.